Good morning. I'm Margy Schaller, host of the Sober Life Rocks podcast. I just cannot tell you how excited I am for you guys to meet my guest today. Sherrine Washington is a master sales trainer with her company Real Talk Selling. She's a speaker, she's a coach. She also, and this is why I'm so excited for today, she has a company called Craving Zen. She's an inner peace consultant, helping busy professionals and businesses adopt an unrushed rhythm so they can have more peace at home, in their workplace, and within. Sherrine, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Margy. I appreciate it. And thank you for inviting me.
Oh my gosh. So, Sherrine, one of the things that I love to do just right off the bat is introduce people and bring the human story. And I would love to know, because I don't even know this, like
Yeah.
paint for me the picture of what was it like for you growing up? What was your family system like? What were some of the things that shaped you who you are today?
Oh, that's a very good question. I would say in a nutshell. So I'm originally from New Jersey, but I was raised by a single mom. And my mother, for as long as I can remember, and I have one sister, 2 years older than me, I can remember my mother always had multiple jobs. That was who she was. And I grew up watching that. And I was forced, and I say forced because I was, to get my first job at 13.
Mhm.
And my first job at 13, I was a waitress. And then at 14, I had two jobs. And I remember being very resentful at that time because my mother forced me to buy the basic necessities of what I needed. I mean, things that you would think a parent would pay for. I had to purchase those things. But I stand before you today to say I'm very grateful that my mother forced me to do those things because it has allowed me to be resilient today. That grind is like it's innate, it's in me. And I look back at those things and I think, wow, those qualities in me forcing me to learn how to have customer service and to save my money and to know how to balance and manage, all of those things have poured into who I am as a person today and has allowed me to pour those things into my children as well. So
Mhm.
funny how you look back at things.
It is, and I too was that the same way. We didn't have a lot of money, lived in low income housing for a period of time because my mom was an alcoholic and just kind of couldn't put life together very well. Um, I also remember just being raised at the feet of a woman who was fighting for women's rights. And I remember being told, Margie, you have to be double the worker, twice as smart, you know, making sure that you shape shift yourself into something that is not going to be offensive.
Mhm.
All the things to try to compete or fit in. And I think it really contributed to my not feeling as though I was okay the way that I was,
Mhm.
and that I needed to always do more, do more, do more, which I think is a piece of the contribution to why, alcohol was such a relief for me because it sort of soothed those feelings for a while. Do you have any experiences or can you relate to that at all?
Yeah. And when you said soothe, the first thing that came to mind was my relationship with food. I'm an obesity survivor. I had weight loss surgery in 2008 and I lost 150 pounds. I've kept it off. So it's been,
Wow. Wow.
and it's one of the reasons why I joined Sober Life Rocks is because addiction is addiction, and it's just a different type of addiction. But I wonder now if my relationship with food was something that was soothing for me based off of my childhood and some of the stressors and coping for what I wasn't getting. And did I, and I wonder now, what, did I just adopt those negative behaviors with food and it just continued throughout my childhood and then throughout my adulthood, you know?
I thank you for sharing that. And wow, I mean, overcoming addiction in whatever form it takes is like a lifetime achievement. But I just have to say that I can choose whether or not I drink alcohol and still survive. Somebody who has a food addiction, like that's whole nother level.
Yeah, because you have to have food for survival, right? So it is a
Right.
constant, it is a true, a multi-day battle making the right decision. Yeah.
So would it be okay with you if we just dug in a little bit into knowing when those triggers come? What is the cascade of the voices that come to us? And then what is it that we now lean into to try to make those better choices? Because I know
Yeah.
I have those moments with alcohol, but it's probably a very different scenario with food. So let's start with, what are some of the things, the triggers that you know about yourself that bring you to a place of just going, oof, cheeseburger sounds really good right now.
Yeah. No, 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 this is good. I would say because I'm an emotional eater. So just being in tune with my emotion because um being an entrepreneur, I'm home by myself, right? My husband goes out, he goes to work, he's a teacher. My other son's in college, and I have one that's in elementary school. So coming home after dropping my son off, I've got to be in tune with like making the right decisions based off of how I'm feeling at that moment. So I've got to be in tune with my emotions. Am I happy and feel like I need to eat something that's comforting because I'm happy? Right? I mean,
Mhm.
like asking myself those questions. Sitting at home, watching a commercial, which we all know. I mean, there's artists that make food even more appealing. And so if I see a commercial and I'm like, oh, there's a cheeseburger, like, oh, I want one of those. It's like, wait a minute, Sherrine, you just ate. Like, seriously? Right? It's like all these triggers are like everywhere when it comes to food addiction. And so I've learned mindfulness techniques with eating is that before I, no pun intended, feed into the urge of wanting to grab something, that there is a thought process that I like pause and like, okay, am I really hungry? Like physically, do I feel it in my stomach that I'm hungry? Or am I just choosing that because it looks good at that moment? Or because I
Mhm.
want to associate the act of eating based off of a celebration or an emotion or someone giving me something because I'm right there. So I don't know. Is that really different from alcohol? Like now I'm curious about the other end.
It's absolutely not. Um, I was really, really fortunate when I got sober. I went through a treatment program, and they brought in a neuroscientist who
Mm-hmm.
talked about the cascade of things that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And for the person who has some level of addiction, there's the part of our brain called the amygdala,
Yeah.
and that's the survival, fight, flight, um, fear, all those things.
Yep.
And it's always looking for solutions to
Yeah.
those fearful moments. And what happens for somebody is that we engage in some behavior, drinking, eating, gambling, sex, whatever the thing is,
Mm-hmm.
as a relief in that moment. And the brain goes, oh, that's a relief.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do it a second time. And the brain goes, oh, that's a relief. And we do it a third time. And this connection begins to be built until all the brain has to do is sense a little bit of fear. And its immediate answer is must have, fill in the blank,
Mm-hmm.
must have drink, must have drugs, must have food.
Yeah.
And it overpowers the frontal cortex where our thinking is, because it is in full survival mode, even if the stressor was smaller, because
Mm-hmm.
it just knows that's the one thing. That's the one thing that's going to make me feel better.
Mm.
So for the person who's recovering from those sorts of things, what
Mm-hmm.
you said is to interrupt that screaming voice with a pause.
Yeah.
And so when I first got sober, I mean, all I had to do was imagine a drink or see something on TV or be at a restaurant and see the table next to me. And the instant, just my whole body was flooded with need, must.
Mm.
And I literally had to like sit on my hands at first. But as those strong urges went away and the connection began to weaken a little bit, now it's a matter of thinking it through, exactly what you said.
Yeah.
You know, I was recently at a conference, and the only place to gather was around a bar. The restaurant wasn't open at nights; they only were open for breakfast, and so the only place to gather was around the bar,
Mm-hmm.
which is okay. But there was somebody standing next to me holding a glass of wine, and the aroma came over me, and I thought, oh, oh,
Wow.
that smells good.
Yeah.
What I now know to do is to think that moment through. If I had that one sip, that one glass, what would happen next? Well, for me, what I know is that I would be filled with shame,
Yeah.
and I would secretly go find a liquor store and secretly bring wine back to my own room so I could drink the way I wanted to drink
Mm.
and not in front of other people. And the cascade would completely,
Yeah. Then it begins. Then it begins.
and then it begins. Yeah. So for me, knowing that that one sip would be my cascade, this is why for me to understand food addiction, like you still have to eat, and you still, I'm assuming, want to eat things that taste good and that
All the
you like.
time. So
Yeah,
yeah. So I honestly, the way that I'm thinking is like there is more opportunity to give into the craving because we have to have it. And I could have a craving for a piece of cake like in an hour. And if I give into it, then I might have ice cream that same night. It just, you know, yeah.
but the really important piece of it is what you said earlier. Why do I want this food?
Yep.
Why do I want this drink? Because remember, if the amygdala is attaching relief or celebration to the act of imbibing and drinking or eating or whatever the thing is, that's where the problem is.
Yes. Yep.
And I listen to people who are sober-ish or just don't drink that much, never have, never really liked it, and they don't make those connections.
Yeah.
They
Yep.
don't come home from a hard day and go, "Oh my God, I have to have a drink."
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Different levels of challenges that we have to deal with, you know.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the problem area.
Mhm.
I now would love to tap into what some of the solutions are. We talked about identifying what that emotional moment is, what that need is, but beyond that, Sherrine, I mean, I look at you and I know you to be a person who is centered and peaceful, even sometimes when the world rocks you, and funny and joyous and all of those things. So what is your magic secret sauce? Because I know as people who are recovered, it's not just about stopping the bad behavior, it's about stepping into our wonderfulness.
Mhm. Mhm.
So maybe give us two or three things that you love to do that have changed things for you, that you teach other people.
Yeah. I think reflecting back to where how far I've come helps. Because I'm a work in progress. I'm not, um, the I mean, like right now I'm the smallest I've ever been at like 121 pounds. But I oftentimes when I start to feel bad because I also struggled with body dysmorphia, thinking that I'm bigger than what I am. So that's a totally different issue altogether. but it's reflecting back on how far I've come has helped.
Mm.
And not discrediting that and saying like, well, Sherrine, look at some of those pictures from like, it'll be 16 years in November, but look at some of those pictures and look at the fact that you're no longer a borderline diabetic and you're no longer on high blood pressure medication. And I'll be 49 this year. I can still do Tybo if I really want to because I've lost all that weight. So it's being, having moments of gratitude when I really want to beat myself up sometimes, I can step back and
Mm.
see, like, Sherrine, job well done. You're not perfect and you never will be, but it's okay to like stand in your power of where you are at this moment. I think
Mm.
that's one. And then the second is I'm very spiritually grounded, extremely the most spiritually grounded I've ever been in my entire life. And so I look at a lot of things differently now. And I stay deep into the word and really putting my focus on following my life's purpose and why I'm here on this planet, which is a very short time in comparison to my eternal life. So I'm very much so focused on who does God want me to be, however many days left I have on this planet, so that when I die, that I go to heaven and God says, job well done. That
Mm.
that that's number one priority in my life right now. So
And so tell me a little bit more about creating Zen. What is that?
yeah. So it's craving Zen. Everybody says creating, which means maybe I don't know, it should have been creating, but it's craving, like, oh, I want this, almost like craving food. Ah,
Ooh.
maybe that's where that came from. So craving Zen is my second business that I launched. Really, I think when I look back at my spiritual journey for the past 18 months, I really started going on a lot of retreats and retreats that were very specific to unwinding, stepping outside of that impulse energy to feel like you always have to have something to do. And throughout these retreats that I attended over the past year and a half plus 2 years, I fell in love with modalities that I thought, oh my goodness, I want to share this with the world. Several of them, including I'm a soul collage facilitator, which is an intuitive way of tapping into different parts of yourself by creating collages. So I became certified as a soul collage facilitator. Then the Labyrinth changed my life back in 2011 when I was first introduced to it as a Lyme disease survivor. And Labyrinths just followed me everywhere I went over the years. And I decided to become trained as an advanced Labyrinth facilitator. So I teach walking meditation. And then
So let me stop and say, because I just want people to understand. I I have been open my entire life to things that people would call woo-woo, but I've not really dove into the deep end on them. I've tried them, I've sampled them, and I've done an astrological reading, or I've done Reiki, and I've done all the things that are kind of in that ilk, crystals,
yeah.
and I enjoy the experience, and it's fine, it's good, interesting. And I had the opportunity to have you guide me in a labyrinth walk recently. And I went to it with the same openness of spirit, the same, like, I'm interested in what this is about, curious to see what happens. I've heard people talk about it, but I didn't really understand. I have to say that of all of the things that I have been introduced to, this one had some kind of impact on me that I can't even describe. I don't, I was in a real place of disharmony, dis-ease, discomfort with a lot of things going on in my life right now. And something happened, something changed, something shifted, something opened, um, some things released. And it was more than just walking around this labyrinth circle.
Yeah.
It was something that you did, some spirit that you brought to it, the people who were, I don't know what it was, Sherrine, but this was magical.
Oh, that makes me happy. Well, that's why I love teaching people walking meditation, business professionals and businesses, because it is a very unique twist on bringing a experience to a group for team building and cohesion, because walking the labyrinth, it meets each person where they're at that moment. And part of my job is holding space for it to allow for that energy to happen and to keep everyone safe. But that's where my passion comes in teaching walking meditation, is that everyone's experience is different. And what you walk away with is what you're meant to walk away with. And sometimes you don't even know what that is.
Mm-mm.
Especially in dentistry, but outside as well.
Okay, we're gonna have to pause, just to cut here because you just froze.
Okay, am I
So I
back?
need you to, yeah, you are now. So I need you to start again with, you were saying you hold space and you don't know what that's gonna be for different people.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
so I hold space when I'm guiding and facilitating a labyrinth walk. And for some people, they know exactly what they want from the walk. And for some people, they approach it and it's like, I don't know what it is. But once they're done with the experience, it's very clear on why they were meant to walk it in the first place. And so that in a nutshell are the services that are offered with Craving Zen. And it's for busy professionals, but then also businesses that are putting on a conference or a retreat and they want something unique that really meets that person.
mm,
Oh, Margie, you were
I know,
frozen.
I know. I know the whole thing froze again. I mean, I've got full bars right now.
I do
Okay,
too. That's okay. This can be edited though, hopefully.
it can, yep. Okay, so do you want to try picking up at the same place again, just because you were kind of on a nice flow?
What was the last part you heard?
That's what you would bring services to busy professionals who, and then it sort of froze.
Okay. So when you ask me, Margie, what is Craving Zen? I would say in a nutshell, Craving Zen is my passion project, my passion business that is designed to help busy professionals slow down, either by going to a one-on-one retreat with me, participating in labyrinth walks, but then also from the corporate realm, bringing forth labyrinth wellness lounges, or labyrinth walk really helps with team building and team cohesion. And I'm really excited about this other passion project of mine. Yeah.
You know, one of the things at Sober Life Rocks that we've talked a lot about is conferences are exhausting. We bring people in, we overload them with education all day long, and then we set up dinners or people go out to dinner and then they come back and we roll up the little black bars and they drink too much and stay up too late and then collapse that night and get up and do it again. And by the
Mhm.
time they're done, I mean, we're fried. We're fried. Our brains are fried. Our bodies are fried. Our energy is fried. And we go home and we wonder why none of that stuff actually stuck,
Mhm. Mhm.
and why in the world we would want to do that again
Mhm.
in a matter of a couple of weeks or however often we attend. Tell me about a couple of experiences where you've brought the labyrinth to that sort of environment.
Yeah. Well, I went to a sacrificing servant event with Jonathan Bonanno and Sarah Cottingham. They put on a retreat earlier this year, and I had the opportunity to go both as a retreatant, but I also did bring my labyrinth with me. And this was an action-packed um, conference for several days, more of a retreat, I should say. And I was able to bring my canvas portable labyrinth there. And what I observed at this particular event was that because there were these unbelievable opportunities for us to learn from the morning all the way into the evening, I noticed a shift in the energy of the retreatants that were there, that I think needed that opportunity to kind of slow things down, because it was information overload. Like the day started magically with yoga, and then they brilliantly planned this event where there are speakers that are coming in. Then you have lunch, and then Sarah's really big on doing the plunges, the cold plunges. And so by integrating the labyrinth walk in the midst of all this, gave people the opportunity to decompress, to
Mm.
release whatever it was that didn't serve them. They were able to release it. And similarly, I think their experience was like yours. Is like, I think some people went in like, okay, this is kind of cool. I've heard of the labyrinth. I've walked the labyrinth before. But they stepped away with something that was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. And so I think it just made the event more well-rounded. And honestly, after the walk, I noticed a shift in the energy of everyone. In fact, someone who
Mhm.
was a guest at that event revealed something that wasn't even revealed. Said, my dad just passed away.
Mm.
And I walked the labyrinth. I didn't tell anybody at this event my dad just passed away, but I walked away feeling complete, knowing that he's safe. It's just one of those things that um the feedback that I get from people, I know I'm meant to do it.
Mhm.
I know that
Mhm.
I'm meant to do it.
Well, thank you for letting me dive into that. I wanted to bring that up because, again, our whole mission is to normalize sobriety, to normalize sober choices, to normalize people who choose not to drink or drink as much for their own well being. But that's just where the journey starts, right? We have so much more that we can do to grow and be in our bodies and be our most authentic selves and celebrate the superpower that we have as a result of having gotten rid of that amygdala crutch that has cropped up for us,
Yeah.
and be more self-aware and be more in connection with whatever that spiritual path is that we have, and take advantage of building our lives in a way that is richer and deeper.
Well, you said self-awareness, and I don't know if I shared this with you and Laura yet. I went recently to a pretty large, well-known conference in dentistry, and found someone who unfortunately had way too much to drink at this conference. And I had just met this individual. And when I first met her, she was fine. Uh, Saw her later on that evening, and I was like, whoa, is she okay? And under normal circumstances, Margie, I try to like mind my business, you know, and because I'm a member of Sober Life Rocks, there was this immediate sense of, well, you're not being nosy by wanting to help.
Mm.
Because as a wingman, whether somebody feels like they need one or they don't know if they need a wingman, it's okay to just say, do you need help? Do you want me to walk you to your room? And I did that because there was some serious self-awareness for me to be like, Sherrine, remember who you are. Remember Sober Life Rocks. And this young lady, she was like, no, I think I'm okay. But I didn't stop there. I said, is there someone here with you that can walk back with you to your room if you don't want my help? Because I still wasn't convinced.
Mhm.
And she pointed to her friend, and I said, I'm going to go get that person. And I did. That person went to her rescue, and I went up to my room. I don't think I shared that with you guys. This was just within the
No.
past months. And so when you said self-awareness, like that's what Sober Life Rocks has helped me with in so many ways. It's like I can choose to drink if that's what I want to do, but there is a sense of me being aware of myself and my responsibility to help others, and to make sure we don't need to make anyone feel bad about drinking too much. I just have a responsibility as a wingman to be there for someone if I need to be.
Well, thank you for doing that. thank you on behalf of the person that I used to be who needed somebody like you in those moments. And I love that you approach that not from a place of judgment or a place of meddling, but simply just from a place of, like you said, wanting to be there for somebody else. And that's one of the things that wingmen do. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sherrine, the last thing I wanted to ask you was, you are one of our founding members. And we absolutely love our founding members because they believed in us when we were just a little tiny thought. What was the thing that first grabbed your attention?
What first grabbed my attention was Laura's passion, to being 100% honest. Um, because when I found out about Sober Life Rocks, I had not had the pleasure of meeting you first. And when I saw Laura's passion about what she was getting ready to do, I was like, okay, I need to be a part of that. And then when I met you and how your face lights up and your level of passion, um, I personally, whether this is true or not, see this as a ministry. That's just how I look at it. It's not to say that it is for anybody that's watching or listening. I just wanted to be a part of something that was so powerful that I could say, I'm going to give back and do whatever I can to be a part of it. And I know that it's in dentistry now, but I see that there's such a desire and a need to offer this service and this resource to other industries. And it was just a no-brainer for me to say, I want to be a part of it in whatever capacity I could be at this moment.
Yay. Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Sherrine, is there anything else that you would like to share or parting thought?
No, I shouldn't say no and then get ready to say something. Yes. The only thing that I want to say is, um, if anyone's listening or watching this and there's concern about what's my role and how can I be involved? This all sounds good. I want to be involved, but I don't know how. Um, do what I did. I reached out to Laura at that time and I expressed my desire and shared with her about me being an obesity survivor. And I asked questions to see if I was off. Did it make sense for me to join? And immediately she says, no, Sherrine, this does make sense. And once I got that confirmation, I joined. And so if there's any fear or uncertainty about it, don't let that stop you from inquiring. I think that's really what I want to share. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending this time with us. Thank you for bringing a different lens and being willing to talk about the food addiction, because the problem is the same, the solution is the same, and the outcome of being free from these things that weigh us down is the same. I
Well,
really
thank you for
appreciate you.
thank you. I appreciate you and thank you for all that you're doing. Continue to do it and thank you for the opportunity for me to be a guest.
All right. Again, I'm Margy Schaller. This is Sober Life Rocks, and thank you for joining us today.